Good day and welcome to New Truth Media 2020 and beyond, and it is 2020. Welcome to my admittedly tiny, but I think ever so slightly gradually growing base, and I hope that continues to grow in a similar fashion. As promised, I'm starting my 2020 presidential campaign coverage from here on in, and it will basically be the large 90% of what this channel's covering, and I'll be going into great detail because I love that sort of stuff. I'll be analysing policy and focusing mainly on the Democrat side of things, because obviously, it's all against Trump. And this is just a little interlude to a slightly longer video I'm going to do. As always, I promise to keep them as short as possible because no one wants anyone rambling on. But this was just a little note to Cenk, of course. Uygur, of course. Does make me laugh that every time. And just basically, what do you think about the what I think is egregiously unethical use of his audience, his media, alternative modern news site there. I mean, he said he was going to give himself as much coverage as AOC got, with Anna Kasparian running the whole show. The few, I only look at the YouTube clips every now and again, some of which infuriate me, some are quite interesting, but it seems to me that he doesn't, so far, unless he's going to randomly pull out, he doesn't really seem to be keeping up his end of the bargain there, but we'll keep an eye on that. But just very quickly, I wanted to get your thoughts on one particular segment that I watched, and it was when during the whole Iran conflict, and this whole issue of foreign policy and again, as I've said in previous videos, I'm no Trump fanboy or anything like that, but I do think that whoever president you are, when you get in there, you get this huge, the Pentagon, the CIA, you get all this apparatus of the intelligence community coming and telling you all this stuff, and of course some of them have been there for 20 years and they feel like they run the place and they run foreign policy, and they're in your ear, they constantly do it. So I think it's quite hard for every president, and let's not forget, Obama did unbelievable amount of drone strikes and God knows what, which the media were happy to, for the most part, cover for him. Anyway, I digress. I think despite the target being a bit controversial and obviously being escalatory, how would you guys in America say that? Escalatory. Escalatory. It was nonetheless a sign of modern warfare, and if that's the last of how we're killing people, that was incredibly precise, with except for that one other person. So 2 casualties at a wedding. I mean, it's phenomenal, really. he was a very bad guy, and it was amazing seeing the machine at work. And perhaps I'll go into more detail, because yes, I despise. But going back to the Young Turks, they started off making Anna was in one of her furious moods, and making such a drama out of all of this, and they did make a what I think to be a perfectly valid, fair point, is that yes, regardless of how they've ramped up the rhetoric on how what a nasty man Soleimani was, and how all that rhetoric, at the end of the day, as soon as you do something like that, it causes escalation, and enough said. So they made a good point, and they proclaimed that they were going to stay calm and everything. And then in the same vein, they then went on to the next segment about the most divisive, usual, underhanded tactics of, I think the headline was something along the lines of, Don Jr. has a white supremacist not handgun, rifle for hunting. So, and then it came back, killer of wild safari animals, is showing off his new gun with white supremacist markings, and then they link that to the whole Iranian thing, because apparently it was a Crusades thing, Christian Crusades symbol, which has now apparently been, like everything, been taken over by white supremacy. And again, whether you agree with this influx of white supremacy or not, whether there is a massive influx or not, I think giving it credit and talking about it more just actually exacerbates the problem, whether it's there or not. And I think if there wasn't a problem, there probably is a little bit of a one now. So just on that very basis, but I just think it was a disgrace the way they went from making quite a rational, fair position, which anyone rational could take on board and agree with, and say, yeah, no, definitely, it just escalates thing, and it's scary. And then, like I said, in the same breath, straight back to how the Trumps are morons, white supremacists, and they had to zoom right in on Don Jr.'s gun from one tweet that he'd made. So they had to dig out this tweet. Excuse me. And yes, it was tacky as hell. But it wasn't designed for a big audience. I don't think he was trying to shout it from the rooftops. It was tacky. I won't take that away from it. The magazine had a picture of Hillary behind bars. You can probably Google it if you haven't seen it already. And then it had this Crusades cross on it. Now that's arguable whether that has anything to do with white supremacy. But they made the argument that, oh, well, of course the Muslims in Iran are going to see this, and they're going to think that we're all coming to kill them because of the Crusades. But because the president's son, they've zoomed in on one picture, one tweet of one of his hunting rifles, that if it wasn't for them, and possibly another news source, I don't know, I only saw it on this, but if it wasn't for them giving it the coverage, they would never have seen and never known about. So the contradictory nature of that is, and hypocrisy is unreal. Yes, totally in bad taste, but like all these things, which I'm going to get into as we move forward, I'm going to be as fair and detailed and fact based as possible moving forward. But I think that's just an example of just where the Young Turks. I've wanted to make several videos on the Young Turks because of how disingenuous they are, how they don't source their facts, they don't cite things. They put things up on the screen as if they're official documents, and when questioned on something serious, I forget the nature of it now. They said it was the Census Bureau, which had no relevance to something else. Anyway, that's pointless in me saying that because I can't remember the context of the story. But let it be known that they use false data and they do this debunking thing, where, you know, at least someone like Tucker Carlson on Fox News, again, not defending Fox News, but Tucker Carlson at least was anti-Iran conflict, and does try and at least step across the aisle and talk to these other people. The problem is, of course, as he does his Labrador face and sort of, they don't achieve anything, and they both leave thinking they've won. So it's a nice idea, and at least he tries. But yeah, something that the Young Turks should try, especially as they're attempting an aggressive marketing affiliate campaign at the moment. Because if you're going to do that and aggressively up your viewership using those means, you better damn sure make sure it's not indoctrination. And I'm going to be keeping a close eye on them and holding their feet to the fire and making sure that any factual statements, anything they do, I'm going to make sure it is fact, and make sure that they don't, because they say in one breath, as I said before, that they're not going to do this. They're only based on fact, and they're not interested in hyperbole. And just as I said, in the same breath, they just go off on one and in this horrible divisive nature, which doesn't get anybody anywhere. It infuriates Trump supporters. It riles up the other base, and of course, this whole progressive movement is something I'm going to be talking about in my next video, which will be coming up in the next hour or two, and that will be kicking off about the top candidates, missing out a few such as Bloomberg and a few others, focusing on Tulsi and Yang. Again, I think Tulsi's fantastic, and would like to discuss a few of her policies in more depth and go through how a lot of their websites are very uninformative and don't really discuss any policy, which is a real issue when you compare that to say Trump's website, which is something I'm going to be doing. So again, thanks guys. 14 minutes 20. Again, I wanted to keep it under 10 minutes, but there we go. Please look out for my next video. As I say, it should be coming out in an hour or two. Leave your comments. Toss us a like if you like it, and please subscribe, because I really want to grow the channel, and I really think I've got some good insight. I'm certainly qualified to do so, but I'm not going to brag about what those qualifications are for now, or ever for that matter. But yeah, thanks for listening if you did. And yeah, see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.